they're number one in the league there. So their third down efficiency, they're number one. Sacks per pass play, I think they're second in the league. So they're just really good at everything right now, which, again, I would point to the adjustments needed to get there because, early in the year, I think Zimmer was trying to get a little too cute, a little too complicated, and I also think that what Philadelphia did to the Vikings in the NFC Championship game and subsequently the hiring of John DeFilippo, all the offseason talks that those two had about what works and what did you see against our defense that made it so successful, I think he maybe overthought things there. And now he's gotten back to, hey, we're good at this, so let's do this and not try to get too complicated.
I think the offense is even more fascinating, and Zimmer's relationships with his offensive coordinators somewhat fascinating.
Yeah.
He mentioned this week that, hey, Patriots are using Cordero Patterson better than we ever did, which is an obvious shot at some of his previous offensive coordinators, if not himself. And he's had a little tension with DeFilippo the last couple of weeks, has been fascinating. Quickly, we're tentatively planning, follow us on social media to get confirmation, but we're going to plan on live shows at Mississippi Pub December 5th and December 19th. We haven't set the exact time yet. I'm guessing, 5, Tim?
Probably 5,
We're going to aim for 5. Come out and enjoy happy hour. We'll do live questions. I'll bring some stuff we will give away. We'd like to get a crowd out to Mississippi Pub and have some fun. It's a cool place. They host events. They have fish fries. If you go to mississippipub.com, you'll find that they have specials all the time. They recently had a mega tacos and margarita special. They had a wing special. They have game specials, like when the Gophers played Wisconsin. They had a special during that game. So check out mississippipub.com for all their specials, and we will see you there on December 5th and December 19th. Let's make it a party. Thanks to Mississippi Pub and Beaver Island Brewing for sponsoring the program. Also, check out Beaver Island Brewing. They do a bunch of really cool stuff as well. So, what do you think about? Is Zimmer just as grumpy with his offensive coordinators as he is with us? Is that the lesson?
Well, I think he gets grumpy when they lose, when the season moves along. But I've actually been impressed in the past couple weeks. I think he's been much better with his mood, and I don't know, maybe that's, he feels a little more comfortable with where things are at. But he always puts more pressure, I think, on himself than most people put on him. Even when he's going along really well, like he was last year, there were times that he would say things like, well, if I don't win, I could be fired,
Mm-hmm. Which is true, but it's probably not the best thing to dwell on.
Right. And, he does, I think, work himself to the bone, and that affects his mood at times. But the last few weeks, I think he's really been in a pretty good mood. What he said about the offense and it having maybe too much volume, which was, his words after the Chicago loss, there might be some truth to that, but it was also sort of the same thing with his defense early on. So I think he's starting to figure out that you can be the greatest tactician of X's and O's on either side of the ball, but if you get too much in there, your players, can get confused, not really know what their assignment's supposed to be, and it can create problems. Defensively, we saw that earlier in the year when a lot of tight ends were getting behind the defense or they had free runners behind them. Offensively, I think it created some confusion with some routes or Cousins scrambling around, not taking care of the ball. I think the more confident you make your players, the more that they know certain plays, that's going to help. And it's always a learning process. The coaches are always evolving, trying to figure out things. And I think Zimmer always feels like the solution on defense, especially, he can sit there and look at film and figure out some sort of scheme that's going to stop that. But if you're always changing things up from week to week, it can confuse a player. So I think the simplification has helped, and they have to accentuate their strengths and kind of avoid their weaknesses. And when you're trying to have a balanced offense, really the weakness has been getting holes opened for the running game. And, they may not be able to have a great balance in the running game. It might have to be more of a 75% pass and 25% run. And if that's the way they've got to win, that's the way they got. I mean, we're playing the Patriots this week, and look at what the Patriots did to the Vikings. I think was it the Metrodome that they came into and passed. I want to say it was like 53 times that Tom Brady threw the ball.
That was against Childress' team, and they just tore them apart. And that's the thing about Belichick, and that's what his genius is. He doesn't adhere to any conventional wisdom.
Right.
If he needs to run it 42 times in a row, he will. If he needs to run it in passing downs, he will. If he needs to throw it 42 times in a row, he will. He doesn't do things because he's supposed to do them.
Right. And, at that point, the Vikings had the Williams wall. It was really tough to run against them. So why try to do it, especially if you don't have a great running game? And
why be 2nd and 12?
Yeah. And, so I wouldn't be surprised if that is a little bit of their tactic this week. Although, I will say this, the Vikings' run defense isn't as good as it was back then. It is very good, but not quite to that level, I don't think. And, their pass defense is better than it was back then. And so I do think there's going to be more of a mix. And frankly, the Patriots are probably, Sony Michel is a very good running back between the tackles. James White's a very good running back getting out in pass patterns. So I think there is going to be more of a mix this week. I don't think he's going to, slant heavily one way or the other, especially early. Maybe he'll figure out something during the game that gets him to slant one way or the other. But I think it's going to be, try to keep the Vikings guessing. And, the one thing I found interesting was, Mike Zimmer said it, and several of the players backed it up about the Patriots being probably the best team in the league at play-action passes. So the reason you do that is because you're having success running the ball, and they're saying that the Patriots really don't give any tip that it's going to be a pass. They act like it's always going to be that sort of a run. So I think they're, not surprisingly, a very disciplined team that plays just the way that Belichick wants.
Check out fixologyrepair.com, third floor Mall of America by Nordstrom's, also downtown in the Skyway, just south of the Wells Fargo Center. Special, they always have great deals on repairs, quick repairs, watch repairs, phone and tablet repairs, whatever you need. Right now they have a special. They just have a bunch of new Seiko watches in. They're beautiful. And they also have some sales on some other brands, including Kenneth Cole. So check out fixologyrepair.com or just head out there and talk to John Hedges.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at Mall of America. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
So what's going on with Cousins? He struggled in Chicago. He played great against the Packers. Is it simply that the circumstances changed, or did he play better? Did he play better himself?
Well, I certainly think he played better. I think he also maybe is starting to realize that he can't just talk about getting better with turnovers and actually has to do it. I think he's starting to buy into the fact that, the Vikings can win with a very good defense and an offense that just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And, that may have taken him some time to figure out, because in Washington, I think he probably felt like he had to, throw for 5,000 yards a season in order for them to be a 9-7 team. Here, you can get to 10-6, 11-5. Obviously, the Vikings have a tie now, but you can have a very good record by just managing a game well, smart. Take your downfield shots when you can. Maybe take your sacks when you have to, and don't always try to make the hero play. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I also think DiFilippo called a better game against the Packers, realizing that despite having Dalvin Cook back at what I would say is very close to 100% now, you still don't have the blocking up front to be able to run the ball 20 times between the tackles. And so what you do is you manufacture yards in the running game. You get Diggs or Thielen on some end arounds. You might have to increase the screen game, which frankly the Vikings, I felt like, kind of forgot about it for a while. And so I think if you can do all those things, it not only helps you set up a better second down situation, but it keeps the defensive linemen on their heels a bit more, realizing that we can't just get after the passer every time. There's going to be some short passes that we might have to help out with that aren't necessarily the responsibility of a cornerback or safety. So I think all of those things go into to helping the Vikings offense. The one thing I still haven't really seen yet, though, is kind of that up-tempo, no-huddle offense. The Packers
saw a little
used
bit at
it.
the end of the Bears game.
Yeah, and the Packers, but that's more of a necessity.
I know, but that's the thing. But it worked. Cousins looked so much more comfortable when they went to that.
And my thing is, if the offense is struggling, I would like to see that earlier in the game. Go to it in the second quarter. Not just as halftime approaches, but maybe early in the second quarter. Just try to get a rhythm, a flow going. Maybe have Cousins just at the line calling some of his own plays and see how that goes. I feel like too often they wait for it. The Packers came out, they were no huddle the first couple drives, and then they backed off of it. But, I think, and especially when you're playing a team like the Patriots who love to rotate their defensive linemen, that's one way to keep those same set of 4 defensive linemen on the field all the time. Mm-hmm. Or if they're trying to run on and off the field, maybe you can catch them like Aaron Rodgers is so good at doing and get that 5-yard penalty. So I think that's something that's left to be worked into the offense. And I'm not saying they have to do it every game. I'm not saying they have to do it all the time. But if the offense is kind of struggling to find a rhythm, I'd like to see them at least try that.
Let's get to the Patriots and let's get to my memories of 2010 in Foxborough. Let's first thank Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent. Champlin, Hoaglund, handles my insurance, handles Michael Russo's insurance, and he's very easy to work with no matter where you live in the metro area or in Minnesota at large.
Hey, Minnesota sports fans. This is your local State Farm agent, Tony Hoagland. I need you all to ask yourselves this question. If you're in an at-fault car accident and you are sued for $700,000, how much of that $700,000 will my current insurance company pay? If you are unsure or can't answer all $700,000, you need to give us a call. State Farm has been number 1 in car insurance since World War II and number 1 in homeowners insurance since 1964. For a no-obligation review of your current policies, call us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at www.champlininsurance.com.
Okay, quickly. I'm in Foxborough, 2010. The Vikings are 2-4. They're playing against Brady and Belichick. Big game because it feels like the season's slipping away. And they go down there. They get a lead. They lose the lead. Favre gets knocked out in the fourth quarter. Huge cut to his chin. Moss short arms a pass in the end zone. After the game, Moss seeks out Belichick and Brady, hugs them on the field. We're in the locker room. And Randy hadn't talked since his opening introductory press conference.
Right.
And somebody walks up and says, "Randy talking today?" He says something like, I'm paraphrasing, he goes, something like, "Oh yeah, I'm talking." And he heads to the podium, which is usually reserved for the coach and the quarterback. The Viking PR people are like panicked. They're like, "What is going on here? We didn't think he was going to talk at all. Now he's going to go talk to the podium without us even prompting him." He walks up there and he basically just kisses the Patriots' butt the entire time, gets cut the next day. 3 weeks later, Childress is fired, then Favre retires at the end of the year. It was Armageddon.
Yeah, it was a storm of everything coming together. To me, that was just him kind of sending everything that was already in motion into overdrive.
It was pushing the button on the dynamite. Yes.
Yeah. It was clear then that Moss hated Childress. I mean, that just seems to be the case.
And Favre hated Childress.
Yeah. And so
pretty much everybody hated Childress.
Yeah.
Except maybe me. I kind of liked him just because I thought he was an interesting character. But
he grew on me.
He grew on me. But there's a prominent. We know what Favre thinks of him. We know what Moss thinks of him. There is a prominent former Viking who worked closely with Brad, who always tells me that this guy. I mean, well, I won't repeat it because I don't like using anonymous sources to rip somebody. I'll just say that some of my best sources could not stand Brad Childress at all.
Well, and I think because he came in with such a militaristic attitude, that does not work in the NFL. And it may work with a young team for a year, but